It is content time, baby. Two big teams duking it out for their spot as the top seed coming out from the final Challengers event. My name is Bob. Joining me on the show is VanCilly. We've got FaZe and 100 Thieves duking it out in the finals. FaZe, a surprising visitor to the finals, not the team we would have expected to make it this far.
Exactly. If you just mentioned it, the grand finals, FaZe, and 100 Thieves. Did we expect that? Probably not. We expected an LG. We expected maybe a Gen G, maybe even a TSM. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen for those three teams that I just mentioned. And FaZe is on the up and up, and they've been doing nothing but impress me so far.
Now, I know a lot of people have questions about what this means, making it out from today, what it means when you get into the Masters. How does that work on the global scale? We do have a video voiced by Rivington. Let's take a look.
Welcome to the VALORANT Champions Tour, a year-long tournament circuit featuring the best players and teams from all over the world, culminating in a global championship event, VALORANT Champions. Each stage begins with challengers, where teams compete in regional tournaments for a place at Masters. Teams who compete in Masters events will earn points that help them qualify for Champions. And Champions is where the best teams from around the world compete on a global stage, where the art of greatness is on full display. And one team will be crowned 2021 VALORANT Champions.
Every time I hear Riv talk about 2021 VALORANT Champions, I get a little outbreak of goosebumps. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till we get to that global stage and we can finally see the best of the world duking it out on LAN.
I think not only you hear Rivington's voice, that hypes you up. We talk about the 2021 circuit, and just recently we heard about the Masters 2 event that's going to be on LAN as well. So there's nothing but excitement that builds up into the Masters 1 that's going to happen next week, Masters 2 that's coming up, and we have no idea what's in store for Masters 3 and the Champions Tour, but I think it's going to be nothing but the up and up.
Now, looking at the two teams that made it into the finals, they both had different routes. FaZe Clan coming in from the upper bracket again. Bit of a surprise. I don't think many people would have anticipated that. Looking at the matchup, they'd assume 100 Thieves was the team coming in from that upper bracket. You can see their tournament run. They beat T1, dropped Energy, and then defeated LG as well. That's not an easy route to get to this point whatsoever. They have earned that one map advantage.
Yeah, and when you look at 100 Thieves at the same time, at that bottom of that bracket, already being upset by Energy in the quarterfinals match. I'll talk about them a little bit more for 100 Thieves, but it looked pretty good for Energy going into this one, beating 100 Thieves, having a chance to play versus FaZe, and suddenly that upset. I think for FaZe, for me personally, has been nothing but the upset route in this tournament, and it's been beautiful to witness.
One of the crazy things about FaZe, too, is when you look at the team historically, they really haven't done anything since the inception. They've struggled to find that really big win. And this might be that first really big win. They also are one of the few teams that has kept their original roster. It did take them time to sign. They were a slow burn roster announcement. They picked up one player here. But when they secured their 5 players, I think it was in August, they have not made any changes since August. Very few teams still competing in VALORANT have lasted with one roster that long, and most of them are in the top 5. So they're in very good company. Taking a look at that lower bracket, you can see as well 100 Thieves had to fight through some difficult opponents themselves. They had to take down T1, drop TSM, beat Gen G, and then defeat LG. They fought their way through the gauntlet of that lower bracket.
That's definitely the gauntlet if you want to look at 100 Thieves. And overall, when you were talking about that history, Buck, I just want to take a step back on that one, too. You're totally right. Because when it came down to FaZe, when they first got signed, of course, it was one captain from a different game that was potentially going to be at the helm to build this team. And for FaZe, it turned into a little bit of a 100 Thieves style where it was Hiko plus High Grounds. Then this time you have Marv plus the Overwatch boys. And finally, 100 Thieves went through a revamp, and you have the team that you have today, and they look very good. For FaZe, they haven't had the consistency. they have a potential, but it never had the good results. So to see them being able to perform that well now, it's great. And it's not because they've switched rosters, and you were mentioning, what's that winning factor? It came down to finally bringing in a coach that helps them out in the agent composition and their own play style. Every single player is putting their own input into their strategies, and it's definitely paying off to all these wins that we're currently seeing.
Yeah, just looking at the two teams in general, it's just wild seeing the comparisons of the two. A lot of people have wondered what team will be or what game will provide the best players, excuse me. Will it be Overwatch? Will it be Counter-Strike? Will it be Crossfire even? We've seen some Fortnite players switch over. We've seen players switch over from various scenes. But now we get maybe an answer to that question, as we have a grand final between a team that is mostly ex-OWL talent and mostly ex-CS pros, some of them gods of the game. Speaking specifically of FaZe, though, we can kind of get a visual interpretation of their kind of run through the tournament here. It wasn't always easy for FaZe. They didn't always make it look pretty, but they found the wins when necessary. They grabbed the rounds when they needed to. Looking specifically at this T1 matchup, they got off to a great start, and then they let T1 come back into it on Icebox. They ended up turning things around there in the end on Haven as well, but it was a very close game in general. And then they have to fight their way through Energy as well. Like, this is a really difficult path to take to make it to this point.
Yeah, and when we talk about FaZe and the things that it's funny, it's not always clean. It's not always clean when Baby Base dashing into his opponents, right? We've seen that a few times in this tournament, but overall, what looks very clean is the chemistry that they have as a team now. We've always seen FaZe being very aggressive, the way that they push forward. They still do that from time to time. Look at Baby Bay in this example, fighting mid on Energy. I was going to mention that when we're going to have a set going on in this map pool. But overall, they still have like a flash and dash composition with the breach now coming into play that's really helping out in that chemistry. So they have a different type of strat book. One round they could switch it up to aggressive, another round they want to play conservative, and it's working out.
Yeah, FaZe sort of shutting up the haters here as they've made it this far. Looking at their opponents, though, I feel like the two teams competing in the finals have something to prove. Even though 100 Thieves is a very good team and they're accomplished already in Valorant, they just made a roster change that some are doubting, because they looked at Dicey and they thought, oh, Dicey doesn't need to be replaced. What is this? This doesn't make any sense. It was too quick. Why'd they pull the gun on, or the trigger on this? But again, Alex, it's all a matter of what's available to you. When a player like Ethan becomes a free agent, you do not hesitate to make them a part of your active roster. And it didn't start out great for 100 Thieves, as we saw. It kind of felt like they had some things they needed to work out. But as the event has gone on, things have started to click. They've gotten a lot smoother, a lot more streamlined, seamless.
The things that you want to prove, the storyline that you want to prove for 100 Thieves right now is that winning first strike was not a fluke. Bringing in a new player and switching out Dicey, unfortunately for Dicey, shouldn't be criticized because, as you said, Ethan is a hot commodity. They want to show how strong they could be immediately, and also in the long run, in 2-3 months, how amazing they're going to look, right? And on the first day when Ethan was playing, he looked really good mechanically. Missed a couple of smokes here and there, which was the detriment of a couple of rounds for 100 Thieves, and it didn't look that great. But look at the rounds after. Look at the games after, following the days until today. Asuna is playing his own ways, his fast, snappy way, moving around the map, getting these clutches. Hiko becomes a clutch king as well. They're playing back to their regular ways because I think finally they've shaken off the jitters and they're back to their full form. So looking at this head-to-head between 100 Thieves and FaZe, it's going to be a very tough match still for me, in my opinion, for FaZe Clan versus 100 Thieves.
You know, it reminds me of a similar story. We were talking about it before we jumped into the live show, looking at a player whose name was Jay-Z Walkings. He was a Swedish player who played for a team called Crowns Esports Club. He was actually fantastic when he played with them at the very first Mountain Dew League Global Challenge, so much so that he impressed the likes of Renegades. They gave him a shot as a stand-in on the roster. He lasted 2 weeks before Nafly became a free agent, and they thought, sorry, like, it's Nafly. Like, we have to sign him. He played 3 events. That's it. He only got 3 events with the team as a trial. And even though they placed 3rd in one of the qualifiers during that time period, it's still just an opportunity you need to pounce upon. And I think that's what 100 Thieves saw here. There's tremendous potential with Ethan. It's not to 100%. Say there isn't anything wrong with Dicey, but Ethan could take things to the next level. Now, I am curious to see in the long term what they decide to do now that they don't have that really strong, steady up jet presence that they had with Dicey. I feel like they do lose that a little bit, but look at all the teams we're seeing excel currently. Teams like LG, who also don't have that. A 5-rifle setup right now is very powerful.
Yeah, and on certain maps for LG, for example, if they play back on Icebox, then you'll probably see Thief go as a jet operator. So they do have it from map to map, so you don't necessarily rely on that jet every single map, every single time. But now let's focus on FaZe and 100 Thieves. Those two teams together matching up is going to be a very good one too. Like I said, FaZe looks a lot different than they used to be. And the way that they could play more conservatively and use their abilities quite well, that's another thing that I haven't mentioned. Corey was really good playing his abilities and his utilities as Raze on maps like Vine, and it was very difficult for teams to try to get a couple of rounds in versus FaZe. And then they had very dominant defender side. Like, sometimes being very aggressive has been paying off for them too.
Well, let's take a look at what maps we're going to see, because obviously that is incredibly important. Even though it is a best of 5, we're basically only seeing one map pulled out because it is already a 1-0 start, so obviously no need to play that last map. So we'll kick things off with Icebox, then we'll move on to Bind, Ascent, and then the final 4th map, technically 5th in the series, will be Haven. Now, we were talking about this beforehand, looking at the history there between 100 Thieves and FaZe. I thought FaZe was going to go for a split pick, given that 100 Thieves really doesn't like to play it.
Yeah, I think for me, Icebox was something that was going to happen for sure. Split being quote-unquote banned out of this best set of 5 is quite normal as well for me, because FaZe and 100 Thieves, as you mentioned, 100 Thieves wasn't playing it. FaZe, they've played it from time to time, but they've also been avoiding it. I know they've beaten Gen G to actually qualify for First Strike with it, but it went down to like a double overtime for them to win it. So they are sort of comfortable in it, but they want to play other maps that they're more comfortable with, which is Icebox, Vine. We see how good they are on Vine as well. Haven is going to be that last map that if it ever gets down to that one, I think it's going to be a bloodbath battle overall. And I think 100 Thieves are going to try to save the best for last. 100 Thieves looks so good on Haven, which surprises me that they're actually choosing Ascent as their second map pick in this best set of 5. So I think we really want to try to maybe give a good show for the fans here in Valorant and see a full 5 map series.
The Bind pick is also somewhat interesting, just given where we've come and where we've gone with this roster. I just really didn't expect to see FaZe want to go to Haven. I feel like Haven is a map that really favors 100 Thieves. And that final map, should we get to that point. Again, FaZe Clan does have a 1-0 start already, so they're already up by a map in the series, which does make things a little bit easier for them, and we'll see how things kick off on Icebox. That's really going to be the decider. One of the things that's really kind of interesting, too, looking at the 100 Thieves agent composition, how things have shifted around since Ethan came on board. We were talking about this before we went live. It feels like they sort of hamstrung Nitro a little bit to put Ethan in the Omen position. Now, it's not to say that Nitro is a bad player with the other agent roles, but I'm curious to see at what point do they start switching things up, because is this just an adjustment period for Ethan potentially?
Yeah, I think overall they've been switching things up on a get-go from day one when Ethan came in, because if you're looking at the way that 100 Thieves are also playing on most of these maps, if not all the maps right now, they're also going single duelist. And now having single duelists on maps now playing like Icebox, they also are not playing an operator. So they don't have somebody like Dicey playing a jet op on this map, where usually a map like Icebox, you see a lot of potential and high impact frags and opportunities of having a jet in your lineup on this very map. So 100 Thieves are definitely trying things out. Nitro using the Sage a lot in this agent composition too, but it still looks good. They're still able to put up a good defense for 100 Thieves.
It's just tough because the play of Nitro on Omen, he was like the multi-kill king, especially on this map. He lurked so well playing as Omen, specifically on Icebox. But we'll see how it impacts the team long-term. Omen is a character that plays very similarly to how you might play in CS. The same goes for the Agent of Brim. You have smokes, you have a flash. It's an easy adjustment period. I'm curious to see where Ethan is going to end up settling in his roles in the long term. But regardless, we are ready to kick things off here. As again, FaZe Clan does start with a 1-0, just in case you're confused, because they came in from the upper bracket, not losing a series and making it to this finals. We'll be starting here with 100 Thieves. On the attacking side, you've got FaZe playing defense. You can see some presence currently over towards B, but an aggressive look over on A results in some damage dealt. That'll send the likes of FaZe reeling back to the site. A boombot going out to clear out the close corners. Nothing spotted as the Jet has actually updrafted up into the rafters. It's Baby Bay who has to watch out for the damage that could be coming. Now, the boombot can spot you in this position. It can't actually hit you, but it can get triggered. It's a little bit of an interesting setup. Nice paranoia over on long. Zachary
Cover going out.
currently in position, dropping a smoke, goes for the peek. But as of yet, no deaths in the round as it ticks down to about 50 seconds.
Yeah, you definitely had a couple of fights just to waste utility. It was canceling information. A couple of smokes one way along B. They also got the dart out early, but here comes the push towards B here. I'll talk about it later.
Shots finally coming through, and a fatality is finally on board as it's FaZe who strikes first, but an immediate clapback from 100 Thieves. Ethan finds 2 kills with the Ghost and a nade perfectly placed to force them out from behind yellow. You've now got a post-plant scenario with a damaged target in Raucus. Corey by his side, no utility left remaining for the Rays. Going to have to get a couple kills to pull those paint shells back out. And look at the positions currently set up. You've got this lurk coming in from under tube. So they're just going to be playing this slow. There's the first shots coming out from the Sheriff long range. Somehow Steele's not necessarily connecting, but he's got them exactly where he wants them. That puts Raucus on the other side of the wall, unable to help out his teammate, and ultimately the round goes the way of 100 Thieves. Despite the fact that Steele doesn't get the kill, that works out beautifully.
Exactly. If he doesn't get kills, he does damage, and he's separating the two-man take on the retake for FaZe. But when I was talking about information denial at the beginning of the round, so there was a lot of one-way smokes from Zachary. At the same time, you had a recon dart that came out from Hiko. So they don't know how many players are playing on that B side, how many players are stacking on the defender side, how many players are trying to push forward on the attacker side. And when you finally had a play on contact towards this A side with Asuna, with Steel, that's when they're like, okay, it was an attempt of being aggressive from Baby Bay on a flank, which is something that he likes to do a lot on his map. And then he crunched back towards B on a 5-man push, which worked out in their favor for 100 Thieves.
Oh, Corey had an opportunity there, just couldn't quite get the Sheriff under control. Paint shells will go out. It's Asuna who's stuck currently in the corner by fence. Knows he has to be careful as that player could be getting close. He's calling in support, but it's not there in time, and that angle is not going to work out so well for the Sage on the high ground. Look at this setup as well. Marv, he's gone full turtle up in that tube, currently waiting for the peak to come through. It's a shorty right around the corner, and it's a game of chicken as well. You can hear the Aldron coming through, but yeah, he's just waiting. And that's unfortunately, they do walk right past, so no dice today.
Yeah, sometimes you want to put that wall in behind you so you can fake out the sound and then play it close to think that there's nobody playing in two. But now he's going to crunch from behind, and that's it. It doesn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that backfired just a bit. 100 Thieves, though, still at a player disadvantage as they go for spike placement. Over on the B site, there is a recon dart that's sent out. It's not going to spot anything. They're breaking through the ice wall as well, so they come in from tube. You've got Corey, who's currently jiggling back from spawn, doesn't spot one out, and that's Nitro striking first. Hiko spots one, just sees the hip, and now has to be careful. Down to 65 HP, knows they're close. He's relying heavily on his teammate at distance. The SMG not working out so well. A slow orb's going to go down. There's a smoke coming in as well, but he's not sticking the spike. He swings wide. Zachary will end up clutching the round out for FaZe, as they steal one away from 100 Thieves to keep things tied up at 1.
Yeah, that was actually very well done here from FaZe on that retake. I didn't think it was winnable at that point for a FaZe clan, especially when it was a very patient, slow play, methodical for 100 Thieves, as we know them for, on the way that they want to do their executions. The wall, a perfect split into that B site. But the pulse plant, I guess it didn't gather enough information of where the rotation was coming from. Since you did have Marv flanked from tube at Harry Potter, as Uber like to call it, or under tube, then it actually fumbles a little bit how 100 Thieves wants to execute into the B site, and FaZe is able to crunch into that one. So a great way to win the round that puts 100 Thieves on an eco, and with this eco, you now have Nitro with a Marshall. They want to play this distance, they want to play the range, so they could maybe try to do some damage on how aggressive FaZe has been on the A side, and that's the second time this happens.
I love that play from Baby Bay, just lurking, creeping on in. And that's another early blow for 100 Thieves. They definitely did not want to take. Steel's caught underneath tube. You said Uber calls it Harry Potter, a reference to 4 Privet Drive. Harry Potter's residence, of course, underneath the stairs. It is a 5-on-2. The numbers heavily in favor of FaZe right now. They do have spike control at least, but obviously you can tell by the equipment that not much can be done. And just look at the setup. You've got this super passive play in spawn with their Sova. He's just sitting back in spawn, watching so they don't push backside A. This should be an easy lockdown round for FaZe.
Yeah, Hiko's going to try to look for an opening right now too, but they have to start recognizing this for 100 Thieves. But the creep is coming up slower here towards the A side. Baby Bay is going to play that distance on high grounds to make sure that the spike is down.
Opportunity here for Ethan. Knows the magazine is potentially dry, but just couldn't quite connect.
Yeah.
And in that time, backup does arrive from right around the corner. FaZe, they've stolen the lead away, but a full buy will be coming in for both teams. This is where they'll be tested most. Nitro already has the res available, so not only is it the kills, it's good orb control and bomb or spike placement coming in for 100 Thieves that'll allow them to have that res. And based on the way the early rounds have played out, with those aggressive plays coming in from FaZe, you might see that aggressive look from someone like Baby Bay, and then they could revive.
Yeah, and that's the issue right now, is because if you're looking at the setup for 100 Thieves, whenever they have these gun rounds, you see how Steel always plays that turret at the spawn side, and he's watching for any pushes towards mid. So you don't really have anybody playing towards belt. So FaZe recognizes that, and for 2 rounds in a row, they push forward for that.
That's a player you're going to have to watch out for, is Asuna. He's punished by Baby Bay again in an aggressive position, but let's not forget, there's the Sage res. So there you go. That's a nice little advantage. That's going to cause a peek out coming in from the knives of Baby Bay, who's found now 3 kills on the round. His target was brought back to life, resuscitated with the Sage CPR. But he's got no interest in allowing that player to survive any longer. Ethan has made it onto B. A nice little smoke to give him a bit of a one-way onto Corey. The knives are still out, though, as Baby Bay is looking for the ace. Still has some smokes available. Goes for the swing! It's Baby Bay with the ace.
Okay, you gotta start being worried about Baby Bay. He's been good in a couple of rounds before versus other teams. And like I said, I don't want to discredit any other teams right now, but they've had a slightly easier run than 100 Thieves did to make it into the grand finals. This is the biggest test for FaZe. They're playing against the First Strike champions, and he's able to get an ace into a full gun round into here. So a push towards A main that punished 100 Thieves, a push towards mid that punished 100 Thieves. So at this point now, for the attacker side, they have to figure out what type of area they could try to focus on and try to capitalize on. So far, it's been towards this green side with good fight versus Zachary, and they're going to try that and continue to push him away at the start. Hopefully they could do this with rifles, because Ethan was able to creep into that B side before. It's just those pulse plants, those mid rounds, that Zachary has been a thorn in her side.
Again,
sorry, Baby
they
Bay.
are aggressive. Look at this, A-side presence. They're just pushing so aggressively. You can see that punish from Baby Bay. Marv got one in mid as well. They're giving B site, but they're kind of shifting their resources around. So they play a little bit further back on B, but way further up on A. That's what allows 100 Thieves to get into these positions, but FaZe is not allowing them to do anything with it. And most importantly, they left the spike at home.
Yep.
Can't leave that one behind, as Marv will make it look easy with the 4K. That's a 4-1 strong start for FaZe here against 100 Thieves.
And getting a 4K right now, Marv, that allows him to get the ult. I mean, he probably still already had it, but he's looking very good here to support FaZe in these rounds where it could get quite difficult. Now that 100 Thieves has a full weapon round, a full AR, and they're stacking up 4 players. And look at Still's position, the way that he wants to adapt into this, right? So the turret goes all the way back towards the spawn side at the entrance of A side, so that he can prevent any pushes towards mid and also fight any lurks on belt side at the A nest. And that's why he's walking up that ramp. So it's going to be a 4-man push, 400 Thieves to work together. Steel is really going to play a much more patient lurk than he has on various rounds in the past versus other teams on this map.
Problem with this turret placement, though, Vansily. Can't get very
creep
far
up.
away from it. Like, it's stuck in the corner. So he's going to have to stick nearby if he wants that turret to have that level of impact. And again, it's an early pickoff. This time onto the Sage. That's a brutal blow. As they lose Nitro, they lose the heals, they lose the wall, the slows, everything associated. with that Sage play. Now, in that time, Steel has crept up slowly but surely onto Sage. Oh my gosh, never mind.
Yep.
Baby Bay is feeling it right now. He's on a whole different level, and that's what allows that pickoff to happen. You hear the port coming out as well. This is just incredibly well read from FaZe. As 100 Thieves has their backs against the wall, they have to make a move at this point. A paranoia comes through, but they can't really gain much space off of it. Raucus is hiding currently inside his smoke. As it fades, Hiko will drop.
Wow.
Baby Bay with another multi-kill round. He is on fire right now.
Yeah, and that's where FaZe trusts their teammates' calls, rather, because that was only a 1 versus 1 on the site in the beginning. That was Baby Bay versus Steel. Baby Bay winning that one, and you have an immediate ult from Zachary all the way from B at A side when they had basically a little bit more pressure towards B side still, but they trusted that call that the hit was going to happen towards A, and they read that perfectly. So they're confident. It's not just Baby Bay. Corey's also getting these pushes. I know he's only at 4-3, but that's 2 rounds as well where he was able to go aggressive and get the first blood for the team. In the numbers of first blood in this department for the first half, it's all been FaZe.
Oh man, look at this again. Baby Bay is so aggressive, feeling it. It could be punished, and it is. Not aware that there was a looming threat on the high ground. Now relies upon his team, who's on site. Raucus is playing off on the angle, trying to hide. Will take damage if he falls off that. It's about 15 if I'm not mistaken. Marved also falling to the rifle, and there's the 15 damage taken by the Sova. They've got A site control, and more importantly, Nitro's been able to gather up another orb and another player brought back into the fight. It's Asuna, one you desperately want. It's a 3-on-5, a promising look for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and it's a res when they're on a half buy, right? There was a rifle that they picked up from Baby Bay. A couple of them still have pistols. They're just confident that they might be able to take this round because they have the showstopper from the res. So they want to use that to clear space. And it worked. Oh, no, it doesn't work.
Okay, FaZe have turned things around. You've got Zachary, who's full W. He has 0 chill. They spot one towards Maze. They know the last player's on high. They're going to try and tap despite debating out of position. It's Steel. Goes for, actually, it looked like he was going to go for a reload or maybe even some utility, but gets gunned down through the wall as he goes up the ropes into opposite tube. FaZe, they had a massive numbers disadvantage, and yet still, somehow, they end up on top of the round.
And that's right, and you saw the showstopper that also came out from Corey at the same time, and he's the one that's going to capitalize on that kill. So it's very well done. It was a nice attempt for 100 Thieves, like I said, to try to utilize the res from Asuna to play the numbers game and the ultimates to try to win this. And I'm pretty sure at that point, from Steel's point of view, he got wallbanged, but I think from Zachary's point of view, he definitely saw Steel come up from the ropes into there. That made it an easy 1 versus 1. So you baited out 2 ultimates, which is the res and also the showstopper for 100 Thieves. You're looking pretty good in the gun run right now for FaZe.
Oh my gosh, again, look at the aggression. Corey has charged up top.
Dude.
He's got a nade coming down. Now he's going to die, but that nade is going to do significant damage. And there's no Sage to bring them back to full health, as again, they lost Nitro early. FaZe is just full Wing right now against 100 Thieves. And it's working out way more frequently than maybe it should.
Yeah, this is where they're going to start winning like the ability game mid-round into the late lurks for 100 Thieves on the executions. Because as they keep dying, like 5 seconds in a round of how Baby Bay and Corey have been so aggressive, it's going to come down to, okay, well, now we actually have to use utilities at the beginning of the round to try to clear out spots, and they won't have anything left once they get into the sites, where FaZe will have a lot more on the retakes.
There's the ult being popped, double ults coming out. The knives are pulled as well for Baby Bay. They realize they forced them off the spike. A delay on the third pulse from Raucus just in case. You've still got Baby Bay here. Here's the plant come through, knows that the nades are coming. Tries to get vertical. Asuna cuts that play down quick. Nice shots onto Baby Bay. You've still got Hiko in position. The numbers advantage has been turned around. That shock dart's going to fly a little bit further away as it had a little bit too much juice on it. Recon dart going in to give away positions. Asuna drops off Maze just in time. Satchel Pack going inside that dart cover, trying to get up onto the high ground. It's now down to Raucus. They know there's one up top, but there's just not much that can be done. 100 Thieves, they may have lost some early resources with that aggressive play, but they turned it back around and made the round theirs. That said, it's still only 2. They've got quite a mountain built up between them and FaZe currently.
Yeah, and that's who else but Ethan, right, to try to help the team to get into the sites on these late mid rounds, because he's done on the B side, he's now doing on the A side once he gets all the information of where FaZe are currently at. That's the little bit of the weakness that you have in terms of the aggressive play from FaZe right now. Because you have players that are so pushed up, you don't really have anybody else that has an opportunity to trade with you, right? So it's a one and done if you actually get punished for it, for Baby Bay and for Corey. But they continue it. Corey's already on the pipes.
And again, the challenge right there. We talked about it in the pregame. How are they going to handle an op presence when we knew it would come in from FaZe? FaZe's bread and butter. And Corey, he says, it's cute and all that we rely on the op. We don't need to. I'm here. I got it. 4-on-2 in favor of FaZe very early in the round yet again.
30 seconds in, and these guys, 400 Thieves, are still at the entrance pretty much of a nest. They haven't made it even past the cross of the orb, and that's again just the aggressive play from these two duelists for FaZe.
Well, Hiko is left standing, and it's never a guarantee when this man's alive in a one-on-many. We've seen him clutch several rounds, but now is not the time. 30 HP and high ground for Baby Bay means a round win for FaZe. Looking at the scoreboard, currently Baby Bay is 16-4. Corey on an impressive pace as well, 9-6. It's not a bad scoreline. Corey's been playing super aggressive, obviously catching a fair bit of damage in those scenarios, whereas Baby Bay has a bit more escapability with updraft and tailwind and the smokes as well. But we saw the op come out that round.
That's
Did it feel like it worked for 100 Thieves?
I mean, at this point now, it's not going to be an aggressive play on the belt. They try to get that presence because they know Corey's been pushing it before on the high ground or even on the low ground, and now they come face-to-face against an operator. So now it's going to be another obstacle, something else to think about for 100 Thieves on the development. And if you're looking at the beginning of these rounds, you don't really see that. Okay, so the Aldrone actually does come out for his belt. You see how early he has to come out now.
Another obstacle. Chuckle,
Nice
chuckle,
nice.
dad jokes. We do have a trade out coming in from Hiko, which is huge. There's a wall coming in as well. Big fat paranoia ready to go down potentially.
Spike planted.
Zachary has already come out from heaven from distance. Great damage coming out, but it's actually Hiko, the clutch god, delivering. Now Ethan is close, and Ethan could get this timing right, and it could actually work out so incredibly well. It's all about patience right now for Ethan, but Ethan actually decides to stay low. Now that's something that's going to produce a problem. It's the Killjoy ult being used by Steel to potentially keep them at bay, but it's down to just one player remaining. Now, as the lockdown comes through, there's a wall. Ethan's on the other side of it. Ethan will be able to get one kill, but can't do much to stop it. And it's FaZe who take another round when it looked promising for 100 Thieves yet again.
The idea was so good, because he doesn't want to go into the A tower to get the kill in the backstab to give his position away, because it's only an eco right now for 100 Thieves. So now that you have a plant with the wall, you put the ult from Steel towards the pipe side, and you're forcing FaZe to push forward. And FaZe thinks that the whole site is clear. No, they've rotated already from spawn site, from screens. So this is a huge opportunity for Ethan to play time and also get the backstab on the diffuser. The only thing that sucks, though, was that the wall was still up for Nitro. It wasn't even at a point where it was about to melt. So Ethan, with only a ghost, wouldn't be able to break down the wall to get the kill, and his jig was going to be up already no matter what. So unfortunate timing, but the idea was perfect for 100 Thieves.
The rocket comes out. No damage dealt, but look at the amount of map presence they gain off that. They have full B long control, and that allows their Sage to just focus on the underside of Tube because there's a wall currently blocking Tube access.
Yeah.
So you can see what that does. It pulls all of their resources towards mid and B, and then they can just rely on the op, who's currently playing back A, to just play that high ground and pick them off. Now, Ethan does catch Corey getting a little overzealous. Not really a surprise. Ethan! Quick shots coming out. And that is a huge punish, especially as the wall breaks inside Tube. Now this B site has a problem. You've got Sage, who's currently pushed up, hoping to grab a res, but Asuna is here. It's all going to come down to timing. Spotted one. Marv will survive long enough. That is huge.
I thought the timing of that Marv was going to get killed from that one, but the lurk is still strong for 100 Thieves. So they made it inside the site. We'll get the plant, but it's going to be a double flank from Long B.
You've still got to worry about Baby Bay, who has the ult. The knives are out. We saw how successful that was previously, as Baby Bay was able to retake on the B site and find an ace, no less. So now that the blades are out yet again, swirling through the air, ready to find home and some fleshy targets, We'll see if he can make some space. First, it's the op to do it. Now goes for the swing. No dice. It will be 100 Thieves getting themselves back on the scoreboard. But these rounds, they're few and far between.
Last round in
At least the gap is starting to close up, right? So it's looking pretty
Yeah.
good for 100 Thieves. They're starting to wake up a bit in this matchup, and I like the way that they changed their attacker side for that previous round, just because you still had Ethan with a From the Shadows available. So you have that turret up towards mid, and they want to change the pacing on alert from Steel. He was going immediately towards that mid tube, while the rest of them for 100 Thieves are working towards the A side. There's a potential, a possibility, that they might ping out Baby Bay and ult him, but they decide to fall back because of the aggressive push from FaZe that Ethan was able to hold back. If it came down to a point where they actually got into a site, I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan went for a teleport from the shadows to just meet up with his team after, as he's going to be the one playing that lurk.
It's important to note, too, if 100 Thieves can find 4 rounds, it's not bad. Their
Correct.
defensive composition is strong with Killjoy playing the defense. If you look at FaZe, they don't have a Sentinel, so well, they do in Sage, but I mean like a Cypher Killjoy style play, so they don't really have as much stopping power. It's going to make things a little bit more difficult on a retake.
I feel the opposite, because their stopping power is in the form of
I know,
Baby Bay and Corey
but,
right now.
but that's the reason why they're playing so aggressive.
Yep,
It also kind of makes things a little bit more interesting, though, when they switch to the attacking side, is how do they watch the back end? Like with a Cypher or a Killjoy, even though Cypher's weak on this map, you have that capability. Flying into the site is Asuna, but there's that player, Baby Bay, with the up on high. A kill comes in towards the end. It's going to be Ethan, and he has been really heating up.
Yep.
It's down to a 1-on-2. Spike is down on the site. Can't quite tap the shots into the skull of Marv. 9-3, your halftime score as we get ready to throw things to a break. We'll come back and see if 100 Thieves can bounce back in just a bit. And we are right back into it. 21 kills for Baby Bay in that first half. How do things transition over now, switching to the attacking side, as we saw the op come out numerous times for Baby Bay towards the tail end of that first half. But it started mostly with rifles. It was just a lot of holding that W key and charging towards them. It seemed to work out. Now they got to deal with Steel, though, playing as Killjoy, and that is going to be a massive pain in the butt, as Killjoy on this defensive side can be so ruthless.
Yeah, and you see it from 100 Thieves' point of view. They have 3 guys with full shields, which means that they wanted to emphasize a lot on utility. And that's Steel, Asuna to help towards B side, and Hiko with the shock darts to prevent plants on A side.
Nice nade coming in. That'll force them to the backside of side. It's a big fat paranoia to lead them in as well. Now there's a smoke down that Zachary charges through. And they're using the Owl drone as well, but it doesn't clear back sight. It actually clears the other direction, and that's what allows this to happen. Ethan, even with the dart in his side as the drone turned back, it doesn't matter. 100 Thieves pick up a huge, flawless pistol round to kick off the second half.
Well, that's the type of style that Ethan likes to play, right? Coming from the other different game where you don't need to use those abilities to try to clear out corners. You kind of go for a jiggle peek, a body peek, and then go for an aim battle. So it's like, hey, come at me. I don't mind. You want to swing out? I'll still win this one right now. And he's been proven time in few of these rounds to be very good in terms of the way that he's rifling and also pistoling in this map.
Nice catch.
Thank you.
Take that, observers. Can't count that one.
That's it. I caught myself.
9-4. FaZe still have a massive lead. They're coming into this one, saving quite a bit of utility and cash so they can move into that next round with a little bit more oomph. Now, Hiko does struggle against Marv, who just had a classic, and Asuna charges out, and he's like, oh my god, there's so many targets. Tries to just keep transferring, but wasn't finishing off the kills in the meantime. FaZe just looking to do some economic damage. Corey's actually gotten all the way up into the kitchen. Might be able to get a kill onto Hiko, who's right around the corner on 80 HP, but Hiko's got the placement ready with the crosshair. And now it's all up to Zachary. Do they anticipate a second player in tube? Zachary's actually going all the way over towards the B site. Might actually be able to sneak a plant out of this.
Well, he's got to figure it out. He's got a turret that's super close to him, so hopefully it's not... Oh, it's actually going to be on the top B, so he's going to be able to get it. Actually, that's very well done for FaZe with that lurk at the beginning, despite them losing so many players. Yeah, Steel, that's an easy one to get the kill. But yeah, I got to say that 100 Thieves, I do like the fact that Asuna tried to push through that smoke and try to get some information. And as he saw it, you saw a shock dart that came in from Hiko in the back of Boiler. So they still have that communication. How close are they in that smoke? Where can they be going for FaZe right now? How many players are there in that area? Which is why you saw such a passive play for 100 Thieves right after towards that B side. They don't mind to give FaZe the plant. All they want is to get these diffuse and get closer in these matchups, get closer in the spread of this scoreline. And I wonder if we're looking for a gun. Yeah, we're trying to look for that gun in mid still. I think it's Ethan that's running around.
Actually, I think Steel may have gotten up or had a tech issue because Steel stopped moving immediately after that round. We'll see if we have a timeout called here. It was possible they were trying to give Steel a little bit of extra time. Who knows? Or maybe it wasn't. They were just looking for the gun. But the fact that Steel wasn't moving it kind of made things a little bit more interesting. Now, speaking specifically of Steel, I know that his numbers in the first half weren't all that impressive. Attacking side Killjoy on this map is not exactly ideal. On the defensive side, though, you can play either side of the map and do it well. Killjoy is scary on both B and A. So if you see that kind of flexibility displayed by Steel playing across the map at a variety of places, that's when 100 Thieves can really click on this defense. They're going to be tested here, though. This is going to be a difficult round, given that they're coming into this with a bonus, and there's a lot of money coming in from FaZe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's just Steel in general, but we'll talk about that a bit, because the execution's coming towards it.
Now, that wall is a little bit awkward, but it doesn't seem to hurt them too much. There's a crack in it, and it looks like Asuna wants to sneak on the backside site, almost tried to use it. Has to be careful as the shock darts come in. Counter shock darts coming out. Good damage being dealt to the player's maze. Steel opens up the LMG and starts spraying a hailstorm of bullets towards that direction. They fully rotated off the B site as Steel came over, and they know that based on the LMG sound because they know that Steel was using that previously, which is why you're seeing Baby Bay now peel a bit to try to find an opening somewhere else. Still, though, a lot of presence on the A site.
The presence right now is Asuna, right? And he only has a blast pack left. So it's going to have to be the angle. He has to go for the body peek and get that information and maybe even try to blast pack away if he has to. But we've seen how good he is mechanically. He could technically hold this on his own.
Yeah, they transitioned from full hold to retake, but Asuna looks like he wants to take matters into his own hands. The Sage Wall goes down, and actually, there's a gap. He can get behind this. I'm not sure if they knew that, but it doesn't matter anyway. That's pretty much the round falling apart. The last man standing is Steel, sitting back in spawn with the Ares. And Steel's realizing it's not quite worth it. Turret's going to go down. They're not. I guess technically Turret
it just
did
didn't go where he wanted to.
Yeah, it didn't go up like he needed it to.
Oh, but yeah, as we are actually on this topic of Steel, and I wanted to touch base on what you were talking about in Steel, how much of a thorn on the side he could be on the defender side. I think it's just Steel in general, whenever they're playing the defender side, because he's the type of mastermind that just knows the different types of play styles and how to adapt on the fly. So when you're having aggressive players like FaZe right now, or like Gen G when is dashing into sites, he kind of knows where he could place these nanoswarms, where he could place these turrets to actually help 100 Thieves come back and claw back on the defender side. So as FaZe has a lead of a 9-3, and now the gap is slowly closing to a 10-5, there's still a potential that 100 Thieves could catch up in this game. Just Steel needs a few more rounds to know how FaZe are currently playing their attacker side, because we've only seen 3 so far in the second half, and this is a real gun round of this half as well. So this is going to be the first time we kind of have an idea of how FaZe might spread out and split out their default, and maybe 100 Thieves might adapt on time. But it's a 5-point spread. It's close, but still not close enough.
By the way, got a confirmation that it was more of a technical delay for why they didn't defuse that spike over on B. It wasn't BM or anything, chat, so you can calm down. It was because they had a technical issue. Speaking of technical issues, there we go. I went full beep boop there. I lost everything. Hopefully we'll get it back, and yeah, there we are. No casualties as of yet. Nice shock darts coming out. Look at the damage dealt to their Sage, who's now stuck around the corner. Nitro has to go for this self-heal, and it won't even put him back at full HP, and as he swings, it's a double kill for Marv. Corey as well getting involved in the action, and that's basically the round over yet again. Hiko, the clutch god, what's he got for us? Shock darts coming out, but it's all up to him. The crosshair placement is choice, but Hiko flushed out by the nade. It's a 1v3, shock dart around the corner, but falling back to his original position. Has to be aware of the bullets that are pouring out through tube. Goes for a recon dart, gets destroyed before a pulse can come out. The shots are already coming through the wall, right on the money. FaZe at double digits and spreading the gap further here with 11. They're right on the edge of closing out map 1.
And that's another player that you haven't had a chance to talk a lot about this first half is Marv here. He gets 2 nice entries into the A site. Didn't have a chance to see that much action because, again, the ones that are on the top of that board are the ones that are getting all these face-to-face, head-on contacts and winning those fights too. So there's no opportunities for trades. There's not really any opportunities for res because they're not dying too for how well FaZe have been playing this map so far. So now that he has an opportunity to say, look, I don't have to fall back or lay back and support my team. I could try to frag with the team too. I mean, that's 2 great openers for Marv.
I love this. They're going to wall off the underside of tube, and they're just going to charge for a split A. And it works out so well. Poor Asuna has been getting bullied this game as they just charge in. Baby Bay is feeling it right now. Shot after shot to the dome of members from 100 Thieves. And now it's all up to Hiko, who used the ult to try to slow things down, and it didn't really seem to make a difference. With just a classic left, I mean, what can you even do? Tube is walled off. Underside's walled off. You've only got a ghost, so really what are you going to do? Nice shots coming out on the Marv at least. And another one. Hold on. We've seen him win rounds like this before, but it would be the most impressive by far if he was able to somehow pull it off. The positions are going to make it difficult, though, when they do. 12 rounds for FaZe.
So this is the old school FaZe. I told you guys, like, guys and girls, there's some rounds where they could just turn on the switch and be good old FaZe. Some rounds is going to be this new FaZe that we've been witnessing throughout the week. So that time, they get the plant, and they also push through spawn, and they didn't even care about the spike. If there was anybody going to be flanking or playing Ninja, everybody left the site and was hunting down the last player, Hiko, even if he only had a ghost. So there was an opportunity after Hiko got those 2 kills where it was like an oh crap moment, Eureka, we have to come back to the site and try to prevent that spike from being defused. But FaZe, because of that confidence level, because of the fragging ability that Baby Bay, Corey, and everybody else actually currently has, they are okay to continue to play such a loose style.
Double op setup coming out from 100 Thieves, and oof, couldn't get the dash in time. The tailwind's a little bit late. So 2 picks for 100 Thieves, both off the back of the ops held by Steel and Nitro.
Good old Baby Bay dash into a player, as I mentioned before.
Exactly. Ethan's still on site, and he has been on one. Feeling it right now as the top performer for 100 Thieves. Has to watch his flank, though, as there's players on each side of Maze. Does have support from Asuna, who's in position to make sure that doesn't happen. That's the kill coming in from Asuna onto Zachary. Last player standing as Rock is taking damage inside dark cover, looking to escape. Shock dart's almost right where it needs to be. but it's the round for 100 Thieves. The question is, how long can they keep this going? They're relying on that double op presence.
Exactly. Right, they had it on both sides of the map. You had Nitro opping it from the back of the site of A side. You have Steel on the right side, but now if Steel is playing that close at green, there's an opportunity for FaZe to realize that a flash and dash, or sorry, not a flash, well, they could do it with Zachary, but it's a much slower paranoia. But if they're actually going to be able to get like a recon dart and a dash to push Steel back towards spawn, smoke towards spawn, and play that aggressive playstyle that they usually do, they could overpower the B site quite easily.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, winner of this will be facing off against XZE during the Masters. Loser has to play Immortals.
Correct.
And if I'm looking at those two teams on paper, no disrespect to XZE, but Immortals is scary right now. XZE's been playing well as well. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but based on the way we've seen Immortals play more recently, that is kind of terrifying.
Yep.
Here we've got a fast play onto the A site that seems to be working out. It's paying off early at least. As you can see the pick come through, the ops not really working out so well. Marved again with a heroic performance as the Sage, trying to keep things more manageable, but no! Goes up on top of the wall to play an aggressive play, drops the spike, but it's all gonna fall onto Steel, who's now on the flank with an op. Not exactly an ideal weapon, and the first shot comes through, trying to stop the spike placement, and now they know where he's at.
He's got a full kit though, right? Nanoswarm can maybe flush one player out. There you go. He's going to try to get Raucus out of the way. He can put the turret down, but BBB has the off angle.
The turret doesn't go wide enough to clear out that position. Wants to peek for it, has the inkling that a player could be on high, but it doesn't matter. GGs are called as FaZe picks up the first map in this series, and they make it look somewhat easy. It's a 13-6 win. Now, I have to say, I'm not trying to harp on player performance at all. Steel on the attacking side struggled just because that's the nature of Killjoy. But the biggest problem for 100 Thieves, Asuna never had a chance. And that's not because of anything Asuna did wrong. You saw that aggressive play on the defense from FaZe. And Asuna was frequently the first player up. So as a result, was the first player to die. How many rounds did we see Asuna get picked off because Baby Bay just decided to full W on the A site? It felt like he just never had a chance to play the game, really.
I think 100 Thieves never had a chance to play the game, unfortunately, because they weren't ready into that type of playstyle that FaZe brought in. Because when we've watched FaZe, I think when I watched him, I think it was versus LG, right, 2-3 days ago. That's not the same type of playstyle that FaZe brought in versus LG. We talked about little variations when I was casting with Uber. It's like, okay, they'll put a wall into tube, and then they'll just play in front of it. Sometimes they'll play aggressive. Sometimes they're going to work towards that mid-side control. I haven't seen any of that. The double satchel into the pipes from Corey, the dashes in, or the slow walk from Baby Bay all the way at the bottom of the nest to get a kill towards fence. Those are brand new pushes that we haven't seen through the past games, at least in my eyes, or what I could remember from watching FaZe. So they brought a different playbook once again against 100 Thieves. So when you look at players like Shazam that shows his desktop that has like different types of playbooks and notepads for different teams, I feel that FaZe has that versus 100 Thieves now. And that definitely surprised 100 Thieves going to this one, right? They picked that map for this team for 100 Thieves. So it's gonna be a tough BO5 now. I thought it was gonna be much closer than this, at least to start. FaZe is looking good.
Yeah, I honestly thought that maybe 100 Thieves could take that map, keep it close, make us go further into the map pool. But now it's a little bit scary if you're a 100 Thieves fan, because obviously FaZe is just one map away from taking the dub. Before we throw things to a break, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Check 1212. Our sponsor, HyperX, who has helped make this event possible. Legendary comfort goes wireless with the HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. It's no wonder that millions of gamers have chosen it because of its own unreal comfort and amazing sound. Again, millions of gamers. If you guys are looking for a new headset, make sure you guys check that out. I'm tethered to the ground, as I've mentioned before, like a scuba diver back in the early 1900s. I have a tube that delivers me all my essential functions. So I don't know what it's like to be wireless anymore. I've forgotten, but hopefully someday soon I'll remember. We're going to throw things to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be jumping into the next map in the series. Can 100 Thieves bring it back and force us into a third? Stay tuned to find out.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
stitching, curves that'll hug your body, adjustable arms, custom embroidery, memory foam pillows, changeable color inserts, lay flat, recline, removable logos, soft, durable material. Yeah. Like what you see, baby? Zip chair.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.